I come from Cavan, which is a border county. It's part of the northern and western region of Ireland. And it is ranked 218th out of 234th of EU regions in terms of transport infrastructure. And if we look at transport infrastructure, for example, Cavan, Monaghan, Donegal, we've no rail service in any of the counties. We did years ago, 65 years ago, always stopped by a government that had absolutely no foresight in favour of a lobby by, obviously, car manufacturers at the time to get people into cars. And even the road infrastructure is very, very poor. The M3 that comes from Dublin towards Cavan stops at the Meath border. It doesn't go into Cavan. Well, then what happens is there's a bottleneck at Virginia. This occurs several times a day, every day. Now, there was talk of a Virginia bypass over 20 years ago. I was in Cavan County Council at the time, and we were talking about preferred routes. And then it was all abandoned when the recession came. There's talk about it again. It's back on the agenda. But God knows what cost. Like initially was put into actually planning that, and then all had to be abandoned, and then all the costs accumulated again. And we're still talking about another 5, 6, maybe 7 years before we actually see the end result. But there is quite a considerable a piece of land just outside of Virginia that would be perfect for industrial development. But it can't be developed because of the transport infrastructure. And that's been said. It's sitting there for years now. And that would bring much needed employment into an area that is very dependent on mainly agriculture and small industry as well. No clear massive investment. And like that area of the northern and western region had the lowest share of investment in public tenders worth more than $1 million at less than 10% compared to the Eastern and Midland region, which had 66.5%. And of the larger tenders of over 20 million, we only saw less than 6%, whereas again, the Eastern and Midland region saw 75.2%. So there's a huge imbalance there. There's also a lower investment in undergraduate funding in the Northern and Western region. Now, we have our fair share and our equal share of graduates, but they can't find work then in that region, and they're forced then to leave and go and work in another region in Ireland or another country altogether because of the lack, again, of investment. So we need to see investment in transport, we need to see investment in energy, we also need to see investment in water and wastewater services because, again, housing is needed if we want to increase employment in an area. Again, it's something that is a deterrent to investors coming into the region because they can't find housing for their workers. So all of those things, for those to happen, it's going to have to be significant investment. And we can't underestimate the negative impact and very significant impact that a hard border has had on the Cavan, Monaghan and border region for many, many years. And I mean, we saw local roads blowing up at the time. We saw communities divided. We saw farms even divided at the time. And I do want to commend the incredible work of ICBAN and the other border regional authorities that are working with their counterparts in the north and trying to bring investment into the area. And they have been successful to a degree, but again, it's not sufficient. There needs to be more done. And another area that needs to see investment is in tourism as well. I mean, someone said to me, it was during COVID when you couldn't actually go abroad, and so they visited Cavan and they said, it's a hidden gem, it's not promoted. So, I mean, again, if we could look at that, anything that's going to create more employment opportunities for people in those regions needs to be looked at and needs to be invested in. Thank you, Minister.